All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live AAPI Heritage Month Spotlight. And I'm so excited to talk with my brother, Jack Kim. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hey, Priscilla. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk with you. We've known each other for a few years now, and I think we originally met at heritage camps, I believe, but we've
Right.
been able to have some conversations over Facebook and whatnot. And so I wanted to share your bio, a little bit of your bio before we get into our conversation today. So again, this is Jack Kim. He is the CEO and founding principal of Core, Kore, Investments LLC, and you specialize in commercial real estate investments for the last 16 years. You work with a strong team of very highly skilled and highly principled individuals, and you personally bring strengths in problem solving, negotiations, and operations. And prior to this career in commercial real estate, you spent 10 years in the securities industry in Chicago. Your bachelor's degree is in political science and you have a master's degree in economics. And one thing I just learned about you is that you spent some time in Alaska, which I did too. And that will really strengthen who you are when you spend time in Alaska. Your heart and your passion are also directed towards reaching out to your neighbors who experience poverty in various forms. And you have been able to direct 10 to 20% of your company's income to various charities and nonprofits. And I think people need to know that you have sealed deals in the millions of dollars, which is really impressive in this real estate market. You've mentored and coached inner city youth. You are a former board member of the Denver Scholarship Foundation. And you are married to Jeannie, your wife of 22 years, and you have 4 sons, 2 of whom you also adopted from Korea. So this is amazing, amazing resume. We're so excited to hear more from your heart about your company and the work that you do. So can you share a little bit more about your mission with Core?
Yeah, so I've been here in Denver from Chicago for about 15, 16 years. And we started our commercial real estate firm to use as a platform to serve the community. So that's why we focus on office buildings and the office product. You know, the Gallup study that came out shows that like 87% of the people are really unhappy at work, you know, with their jobs. And our vocations tend to be a big part of our identity. So it's a really cool platform to serve people because that's where a lot of the anxiety starts in families. People take that home. You know, right now, with all the depression and anxiety in families, the number one killer of kids right now in Colorado is suicide. So it's really rewarding to have this platform of where people work, and we use the office space as a place where we can serve people. You know, from even, it starts with our faith as CORE stands for Kingdom Oriented Real Estate. And the kingdom, meaning imagining what God's kingdom could look like. You know, from my Christian faith, it's all integrated. And that's our culture. Whether you're a Christian or not in our company, there's a culture of putting others first. And we strive for excellence in our business, but it's a means to an end. You know, so from using profits to fund nonprofits and charities to how we interact with people, how we do business. You know, we're going to fall. No one's perfect, but it's a cool place to try to live life a certain way.
So as you're creating these relationships with companies, like, can you name a couple of companies locally or even in Chicago that our viewers would recognize? I know you mentioned like Snooze and some other companies that you've worked with.
Oh, our tenants. Yeah, we've got different types of tenants, large tenants, small tenants. They're mostly office buildings in Chicago and Denver. So we have a few public companies like Remax. The Remax headquarters on Bellevue and I-25. Snooze and Shanahan's are the two restaurants on that site. But other than that, they're mostly office buildings.
So with the work that you do, you mentioned how you have these skills of working with investors. But it's more than just writing a check, right? There's a mission behind the work that you do. And talk a little bit more about how you connect your mission and your work with investments.
We basically put the deals together. So people are investing their capital in stocks and bonds and real estate and other types of assets. So with our investments, we find the right deal. We put the debt and the equity together. We partner with different investors, whether they're high net worth individuals or institutional, like pension funds. And then it's a long process. It could take, actually, sometimes it could take over a year just to close on one asset. And sometimes it could take months. And so that's primarily what we do. We're called GP sponsors or operators of commercial real estate. So once we put the deal together, we acquire it, then we manage it a certain way. We try to add value to it. It's like buying a company. Buildings are like companies. You're buying the books, and then it's a lot of finance, some accounting, deal making, negotiating, all of that. But we use that really, like I said, as a platform. And one saying I have for my 4 boys is, don't be great, just do great things. And, I think society is, these days you could be great just on YouTube doing something stupid, right? And you're famous.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's so many ways we can impact people. And businesses, our work, our vocations are a big part of who we are and what we do. So why not use that to do great things instead of just being somebody?
Right. That's really important to distinguish between those two things. Now, you were born in Korea, so you are a first generation Asian American in the United States. And as we were talking before, you mentioned Asians focus more on performance outcomes versus the EQ. This is so true. We work. We were talking about the Incheon Airport being one of the #1 international airports in the world, and what makes them #1. And as Korean Americans, we are taught to be very driven with outcomes and performances. So it's very unique to see you focus more on these soft skills and these other things that are more humanitarian. How did this happen for you personally?
Good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that, but yeah, I feel like I'm not that in touch with like, I guess, my Asian side, but I was born in Korea, and then I don't remember Korea because our family came over when I was really young. But I think there is a difference when you are raised by immigrant parents, whether your parents are from Mexico or Europe or Asia. They bring something over, a culture, a way of thinking. So that's a part of our family culture and part of who I am. But I don't even speak Korean, actually. But what's interesting is recently I've been doing business with some pension funds in Korea, so I've gone back for business. It was a little surreal for the first time to see a place where I'm from, but was not familiar with it. So feeling like a foreigner there. But yeah, I think your question about that culture of an Asian, and I know we're generalizing, but there is sort of like a Confucianist background of how you see things, how you see the world, how you interact with others. And yeah, I feel like, generally speaking, there's a focus on IQ, like work hard, go to school. It's all about education, right? But being emotionally intelligent is, I feel like it's just as important or more important, to develop who you are and how you interact with others. My whole family watched, well, the older kids, my wife and I, we just watched that Brene Brown talk on Netflix as a family. And it was such a great thing to watch together as a family. And I feel like those are the kind of things that we should focus on within our family cultures to say, are you really in tune with like who you are, what made you who you are, and how do you interact with others, and do you understand where others are coming from, and this whole social dynamic of social interactions. So yeah, it would be nice to see more of a focus on that.
Now
You know how
you're,
they talk about the glass ceiling with Asians, like
yeah.
it's like with women.
So
I
your
think
wife
the
is,
Asian one is self-imposed.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Your wife is a pediatrician, and she has a awareness of mental health. And do you think that plays a lot into your more of your sensitivities to other things as we are developing, and you're raising your children as well?
I think for us, what the biggest factor is our faith. I think our biblical principles and values really dictate a lot of how we see things in terms of how, like the mental health issues. Um, we, Jeannie's always trying to figure out like where people are coming from, what's causing the depression and the anxiety, and yes, she's a scientist too because she, is from the medical background. So putting the medical, the spiritual, the science and the spiritual and all of it together, I think it gives her a better perspective all around. So she in a way, she's, yeah, the stereotypical Asian who went to med school. But yeah, she really sees people the same way. Like, how can we reach them? How can we holistically serve this person? It's sad. It's sad how suicide is like the number one killer of kids right now in Colorado. But from praying over people in the office to finding out where their anxiety comes from, using counseling and medicine if you have to, and all kinds of things. It's a holistic approach. So yeah, I think we're both sensitive to what other people are experiencing.
When people see the success of your business, um, it's really neat to when I talk to you and go deeper to learn about what you prioritize and what is making your business successful, and it's coming from your heart. I mean, there's a lot of ways to run a business. You could be cutthroat and you can break all kinds of rules and you can treat people any kind of way, or you can lead with a humanitarian approach where you love others and you guide others and you share and you prioritize the well-being of others. We had talked about the individualistic culture versus collectivist culture and how that plays into your success. And I know there's more than one way to skin a cat, but the fact that you have led with your faith and the way you just interact with every person that you are doing a business deal with speaks volumes, because it just shows other people that you can be a good person. When we say good person, right? You can be a good person and not be selfish and not think about your best interest and be successful.
Well, that word successful sometimes can be a really relative term, right? What measure of success are you using? And I know what you mean. Like when the world says successful, it means monetary and status and things like that. But we do like the business. We strive for excellence. Excellence is actually the first value that we start with in our company, on our website too. But I think the key is to try to figure out what the means are and what the end is. And I wouldn't say I'm a good person or better person than anybody. I just answer to something else. Like another saying is, life is short, eternity is not. And we're not taking anything with us. And I feel like people hold on to things too tight, in this world. Like if you're if you're out of here soon and you're not taking any of this with us, why aren't you blessing people with it more? You know, like, why don't we just, not in a judgmental way, I'm not saying this that way, but maybe in an hopefully inspirational way. Like, there's so much to do with, you can impact people's lives. Just, you ever give like just an extra tip to somebody, or you, you give some food to someone on the street. There's just so many ways to bless people in little ways and big ways. So like even sharing some of our profit, when I sit on boards of nonprofits and it's always the scarcity mode of trying to raise more philanthropic donations. What we try to do is create a revenue stream from the for-profit side and say, how about we pay back your principal? We're not asking for your principal, but we use it to create more profit, and then will you share some of that profit? And so to see like 7-figure checks go out to inner city youth and things like that from investments, that's just rewarding. That's just, I think that the feeling of scarcity in your heart comes from, it's weird because I say this, like when I was sleeping on the ground in Alaska, trying to make money, getting on boats, working as a commercial fisherman to go back to school, I didn't feel that scarcity. But yet when we're trying to raise $50 million and I'm on the last $2 million and I feel that scarcity in my heart, like, and so I think it's really relative. You know, billionaires sometimes feel scarcity because they're only number 187 or something instead of top 10, right? Or it just depends on where you're putting, what basket are you putting your eggs in?
That's a good reminder for all of us, because we're all experiencing this pandemic together, and we've got to find joy and happiness and smiles during this time. What is putting a smile on your face these days?
What I keep hearing from people during this pandemic is a reset with families. My wife felt like there was going to be a redemption of families during this crisis. And that's what I keep hearing, that even though I'm on call after call or busy with meetings, I leave my office in my house, or right now I'm in the basement because I don't want to hear the dog barking or something, but I'm always home for dinner now. And I go out and I get to play basketball with my 9-year-old and take a break for lunch. And my business lunches are always with family now, instead of, with other business people. So that definitely puts a smile on my face to get to do both, the work and have this quality time with family.
So before we sign off on this spotlight, do you have any advice for young high school or college kids who are trying to figure out what they need to know and do as their next steps to be successful? What would be your words of wisdom?
Well, I know I have a lot of corny sayings, but one thing is if you're the biggest thing in your life, it's going to be a sad life, and you should strive. I think striving is very rewarding for your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, but there has to be things that are bigger than yourself. So what are you striving for, and what drives you? I think that would be the question to always keep in the back of your mind or the forefront, but to always have that with you.
Know your why, right? Know your why, and that's going to help you be focused on your life's journey. Well, my brother, Jack Kim, thank you so much. I have learned so much from you, and I love and appreciate the work you're doing and how you give back to the community. So many families have been touched by you over these many, many years. And, hopefully you will have continued support to continue to work in our diverse communities. I know you are everywhere. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for everything you're doing for the community. This is really important and impactful.
All right. Well, you stay well. Give my best to Jeannie and the kids, okay?
All right. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.